I call this meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 8 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development, and the Status of Persons with Disabilities. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format. Pursuant to the House Order of September 23rd, 2020, proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. So that you are aware, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. Witnesses are reminded that you can speak in the official language of your choice. Interpretation services are available. You have the choice on the bottom of your screen of either Floor, English, or French. I understand Mr. Kent is joining us from in the room. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. Please open your mic. When you don't have the floor, please close your mic. Please address your comments through the chair. I would now like to welcome our witnesses. Bindu Bono, Senior Director of Operations for the Métis Urban Housing Corporation of Alberta, and Robert Byers, President and CEO of Namarand Housing Corporation. Ms. Bono, welcome to the committee. You have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. The floor is yours.
Evening, everyone. This is my pleasure to be here with you. This is my first time I'm attending this committee. I've been with the Métis Urban Housing for the last 8 years, and I have witnessed many successes and challenges in these organizations while I've been with them. Métis Housing is made of two organizations, Métis Urban Housing and Métis Capital Housing. We are affiliated with the Métis Nations of Alberta. They're wholly owned, these organizations are wholly owned by Métis Nations of Alberta. And our mandate is to provide affordable, adequate, and suitable housing to Métis and other Indigenous peoples in Alberta. And between these two corporations, Métis Nations of Alberta owns about 900 homes across Alberta. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bono, for such a succinct opening statement. Next, we're going to go to Mr. Byers, please, for 5 minutes.
I won't be as fast. Hi, everyone, and thank you for inviting me here today to speak on this critical piece missing from the 2017 National Housing Strategy. My name is Robert Byers, and I'm the President and CEO of Namarand Housing Corporation in Regina, Saskatchewan, as well as the Chair of the Indigenous Caucus of the Canadian Housing and Renewal Association, which represents the interest of Indigenous housing and service providers from across the country. Namarand is an Indigenous nonprofit housing provider in Regina, Saskatchewan. Our mission is to provide safe and affordable quality housing and economic development opportunities for Indigenous people in Regina. In 1977, our community determined a great need for affordable housing for Indigenous people. Supply was an issue, but so was discrimination. We decided to take care of our own. Since then, that goal has led us on a journey that now includes so much more than just a roof over the heads of our tenants. We are giving opportunity back to the Indigenous community, the opportunity to create jobs, to create wealth, and to create a sense of ownership. We focus on the importance of each staff member as an integral part of this team: First Nations, Métis, non-Native, and visible minorities. We have also created community partnerships to better the broader Regina community. Together, we believe we can provide safe, affordable, self-sustained housing to all those in need. As of April 2020, Namarand Housing Corporation serves as the community entity for the Government of Canada's Reaching Home homelessness strategy here in Regina. We are responsible for both funding streams, the designated communities and the Indigenous homeless funding stream as well. As the community entity, Namarand is administrating more than $5.6 million in Reaching Home funds during the 2020-2021 year to support vulnerable Regina populations in gaining and maintaining safe, stable, and affordable housing. Namarand Housing, as the Reaching Home community entity, works closely with Regina's Homelessness Community Advisory Board, and this is out of necessity. 79% of Regina's homeless people identify as Indigenous. As the chair of the Indigenous Caucus of the Canadian Housing and Renewal Association, our caucus represents the interest of over 100 Indigenous-led or Indigenous-serving housing and service providers from across Canada. In 2018, funding from Indigenous Services Canada, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the Indigenous Caucus of the Canadian Housing Renewal Association, undertook a study on the state of Indigenous housing providers in urban, rural, and northern communities. Its recommendations stand. Virtually every single action still awaits for a response. I would be glad to provide that to the members of this committee following the meeting. The For Indigenous by Indigenous report concludes that a strategy is required over and above the National Housing Strategy already announced in November 2017 and must include the following key actions. For Indigenous by Indigenous, a National Housing Center. Increase the stable, safe, affordable supply of housing by 73,000 units across Canada. Increase support for tenants' well-being and long-term success with wraparound services. Accelerated action on Indigenous homelessness and a focus on Northern housing. Those of you who heard me here in June will know that I am a passionate advocate of combining housing for Indigenous people with wraparound services. There are no Indigenous people who are not affected by the fallout from the residential school system. We need you to be our partner. And those of you who heard me in June will also know it's colder now in Regina and in Canada's north. It's no fun being homeless in a Regina winter. And there is not a thing I can think of that makes this approaching winter one that might be a wee bit better than last year for homeless Indigenous people in Regina. And that's not acceptable. In June, I identified an opportunity for us to purchase a motel in downtown Regina for $3 million. And that could be repurposed as housing for homeless Indigenous people with a focus on getting elders and young moms with kids out of the shelter lineups. I'm busy filling out forms and expect to have an application in to CMHC's Rapid Housing Initiative. Sometimes the biggest challenge is finding out where the money is. I want to thank you again for inviting me here today, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Byers, and welcome back. We're going to begin with Mr. Schmale, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good evening to both our witnesses today. Thank you for your input. I might start with Mr. Byers, if I could. Sir, I read your statement on your website, and I have to say I was very impressed. A couple of things jumped out at me. Many things did, but two in particular. I'd be, of course, remiss if I didn't point out the foresight the organization had, and I did diversifying your revenue streams through projects like your retail mall and your pharmacy, some of which you touched on in your opening remarks. And personally, I believe that reconciliation also includes economic reconciliation. It includes self-sufficiency, and I think the government has a role to play where it can assist Indigenous communities to create their own jobs, their own wealth, their sense of ownership, and some of it which you touched on in your opening statements. And a lot of it is behind your philosophy in which the organization represents. The second one seems to be the real sense that the organization isn't just about building houses, it's also committed to building a community as a whole and ensuring there's a strong relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. You probably don't know, but I was the former critic for Crown Indigenous relations not too long ago, and through that process, I became quite aware that we're in a time of change, not just COVID related, but with Canada's relationship with its Indigenous peoples. Programs like you mentioned, CMHC's long-term operating agreements are expiring. And for more communities, economic reconciliation and true self-sufficiency are becoming a reality. And I think there's a real drive to have strategies that address reconciliation that are truly led by Indigenous peoples. So maybe I'll just stop wasting my time talking here and ask you some questions. With respect to Indigenous housing, sir, were you contacted to be part of the National Housing Strategy?
you know, that's going back a ways, and I have trouble remember. I know that I've talked with Adam Vaughan on numerous occasions. I did play a part in the development of the Reaching Home strategy, and through the Indigenous Caucus and the Canadian Housing Renewal Association, we certainly made submissions to the federal government regarding that. So directly or indirectly, I would say yes, that we were a part of that.
Okay, perfect. How important, I guess, maybe more elaborate too, because I know you did touch on that in your remarks. How important has economic self-sufficiency and the fostering of community been to residents of your community? And what advice would you give to the government or members of parliament in general, regardless of what aisle they sit in, to ensure that kind of what you've created could be replicated or offered as a potential path forward to other communities?
Well, you know, and I think back to what it was like when we got started on this journey. The subsidy that we were receiving from the federal government was decreasing year by year, to where I believe we get somewhere just over $100,000, maybe $150,000 a year, which doesn't do it, but we were prepared. And we said, you know what, we have to do things differently. We can't always depend on whether it's actually any order of government. We have to depend on ourselves as well, and we have to do things differently. And so we did. We became a part of other things in our community, other things that weren't housing. We sat on boards that were maybe arts. We became members of the Chamber of Commerce, sat on that board. We became a part of the community. We felt that if we wanted other people to let us into their community, we better be a part of it. And we asked a lot of questions with the hopes that one day somebody's going to ask us. And it happened. They started to ask us questions. Then we started getting invited to events or things. You know, there was like, where's Namarin Housing? We need to get those guys at this table. And it was a long strategy, and it was a slow moving one. But it's at the point now where like we really are included in things in our community. And we just most recently, the YMCA had to close down their main building in downtown Regina. So we've since got a call from the board chair. They want to introduce us to the mayor to see what we can do if we would have a need around homelessness. And, you know, it just goes to show that being included and being involved in so many things really, I guess, gives us all an opportunity to make our community better. And, you know, it is a challenge being an Indigenous-led nonprofit organization to have people say, you know what, where's Namarin Housing? And then to get that call, I remember, you know, when it first started happening, I used to think, why are they calling us? And now it's at the point of like, somebody will probably call us on this, you know, because it's been, it was part of our plan.
Thank you, Mr. Byers. Mr. Schmale, Mr. Long has the floor next for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to my colleagues, and thank you to our witnesses this evening. I appreciate your presentations. I do have questions for both of you, but seeing MP Schmale started with Mr. Byers, I'll start with you, Ms. Bonneau. As an urban Indigenous housing provider, can you share what the major barriers have been in your ability to get projects off the ground and to finance them adequately?
Thank you for your question. Actually, we have experienced many challenges during the past 10 years.
Tell us about them.
Well, our clients have, not just our organizations, but our clients have experienced many successes and failures as we navigated through the system and processes. Even though the conversation about adequate and affordable housing are years old, like the current pandemic has brought to light that we do not have concrete housing strategy for urban, rural, and northern Indigenous people in Canada. Like there are several people on our wait list hoping to move into a home one day. Many of them have been on the wait list for over 5 years or maybe even longer. And some may have even lost hope that they will ever experience the comfort of living in a house or in a safe house.
Okay.
This situation is the result of lack of adequate and sufficient housing. The housing stock we own is aged anywhere from 45 to 70 years.
Okay.
Most of those homes require complete refurbishment, and many require demolition and rebuilding.
Okay.
And there are many challenges that we face while planning to renovate or rebuild these homes. And these obstacles are wide-ranging from financial barriers to transferring these residents to a safe place.
So look, I think you'll continue on as I ask these questions, but I just want to get in. Can you just kind of elaborate too on how the National Housing Strategy worked, if it's worked at all for urban Indigenous context? And if you have seen success in the National Housing Strategy, how can we expand upon that with the new distinct strategy?
That's correct. So what support we have seen so far is capital investment.
Okay.
As nonprofit organization, we act as arm of our government to provide affordable and subsidized housing, and providing capital investment is just like hoping your handicapped child to run a marathon. That's how I feel. If you don't support operations, how you can get any return from that capital investment? So that's where we see a lot of, we don't see enough support where it comes to operations. We are given millions of dollars to build homes.
Yes.
Okay, we are doing that. And then what happens in the next 5 years when those homes need repair, or next 10 years, how we maintain those homes, how we maintain those rental subsidies?
Okay. Like with respect to your experience, what kinds of supports are required to make for successful tenancies among the urban Indigenous population?
What I have seen, giving rental subsidies is not enough. There has to be wraparound supports to those people. They require support like mental health issues they have. They require support around that. They require support how to parent their little child. They require support. They don't have like they are not working people. They require support to find a job. So those kind of supports, when we provide them, only then we can say we are successful. Otherwise, capital investment is not going to win any battle.
Okay. Can you describe the needs that currently exist in Alberta for urban Indigenous housing?
We have seen huge shortage of housing inventory.
Okay.
Like adequate, like a number of, we see more 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. We need a larger bedroom size homes.
Okay.
So that's what.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So this is one need, and the other thing is we have actually forgotten remote areas. We have provided infrastructure which may be just meaningless. For example, I'm from Alberta. Once I went to Conclain, and I was surprised to see a $30 million worth of rec center built there. And here people are living in broken trailers. I didn't understand that investment. Who is using that?
Okay. Mr. Byers, thank you, Ms. Bonneau, for those questions. Mr. Byers, I'm going to read a quote that you said in an article that I have here I read this afternoon. Federal government needs to implement a distinct housing strategy for Indigenous peoples in urban and rural settings, and that Canadians are in favor of Indigenous peoples themselves designing and overseeing such a strategy. Can you just very quickly, in 30 seconds, elaborate on how you would see that roll out? Like if you were in control right now, what would be the first thing you would do to start that process?
I think I would have almost like an Indigenous CMHC.
Okay.
One that understood the issues, one that could measure the investments and measure the outcomes, and really show a focused difference being made.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Byers, and thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
to you
Long.
both. Thank you.
Ensuite, c'est le tour de Madame Chabot pour 6 minutes.
Madame Chabot, Ms. Chabot, for 6 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you can hear me well. Unfortunately, I can't hear you well. It might be a problem on my end, but if you can hear me well, that's the important thing. Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Thank you to our two witnesses. My first question for Ms. Bonneau. Thank you for being here this evening. You already answered a question that I had in mind. I have another one that has to do with your organization that provides housing for seniors, for Aboriginal seniors. There might be a couple projects of that nature. Could you talk to us about your needs, your specific needs for this senior Aboriginal population?
Thank you for this question. Actually, it's right now what we are dealing with is shortage of housing, not just for young or students. We are dealing with Indigenous seniors also. We do not have any. We are media organization, and we do not have media specific senior facility where we provide all supports to people who need long-term care, people who need level 2, 3, 4, or people need care who are dealing with the severe disabilities. And we run two senior facilities, and the one senior facility is owned by Medi Capital Housing Corporation, and where we provide assisted living. And that facility is about 50 years old, and we're trying to refurbish that facility to accommodate towards the need of the people who live there. And what we face is this facility, how it is built, is not suitable to their cultural needs. This is the biggest barrier which we face, or Indigenous people face, that the housing they are in today, it is not culturally appropriate. We do not have housing which is barrier free. So these are the issues which our seniors are facing today.
Merci.
Thank you for your answer. Ms. Bonneau, what do we need to do? What would be the solution? We know that seniors, especially in this pandemic, are very vulnerable from a health, an economic, and social perspective. Now you're talking about the cultural lens, which is indeed a concern for these Aboriginal communities. How could programs make the housing better adapted from a cultural perspective? We're trying to find solutions as part of this program, and we're wondering if maybe you have a few solutions in mind.
That's correct. We can certainly help, and we can certainly suggest what we can do. Right now, I had an opportunity with Alberta Health Services where they asked for a supported living care facility proposal. So we have done that, but the problem is there is so much of time required to complete all these proposals and documents. We do that, and then there is no follow-up. There is a huge time which is taken to complete all these formalities. I should say, is this a red tape? We do need to reduce this red tape. We do need to reduce the time it takes to complete one step to another step to another step, because the need today for housing is critical for seniors, for adults, for students, for young people. So if we reduce the time it takes to complete all the formalities, I think that is where we are going to see the difference.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I still have time? You still have 2 minutes. 2 minutes? 1 minute. Okay, thank you. My question is for Mr. Byers. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here. You have a novel project. It's quite innovative. You were saying that you had challenges, and you mentioned these challenges in one of your recent reports. I think you're going to send us your report. And my question, however, is whether your organization receives funds from the National Housing Strategy. Do you get funded through the strategy?
We don't receive funding really from anybody. We receive funding through the as the community entity through the Reaching Home homelessness strategy. But as far as Namarin Housing and funding to provide affordable housing, that's done through we get revenue from the rent and then from our various social enterprises.
See, Madame Chabot. Thank you, Mr. Byers. Next, Ms. Gazan, please, for 6 minutes.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank the witnesses first for being here today, and of course, always nice to see my colleague. My questions are for Mr. Byers. I really appreciated, what you were talking about in terms of Regina. I represent Winnipeg Centre, and 70% of the shelterless community, of course, is Indigenous. So, currently my community has very similar demographics. And you talked about, again, nothing about us without us. I think, and agreeing with you that, we are the best at finding solutions for ourselves, understanding our histories and where we come from. So I just wanted to say I really appreciated that. So this government promised to release a distinction-based First Nations, Inuit, and Métis First Nation housing strategy, but unfortunately, we're still waiting. And it was recommended by two of our witnesses in our last meeting that an urban Indigenous housing strategy should be developed, something that has not happened. Do you believe this is needed? And what type of funding do you believe would be required to ensure such a strategy would be sustainable and successful? I know that Madame Bindu spoke about, it's great to have infrastructure, but where are the operational costs? Can you expand on that, please, Mr. Byers?
There's a lot of things go through my head when we talk about that. I'll try not to get too sidetracked, but the need for a distinct strategy for us is so important. And I know that we've talked about dollars. And off the top of my head, as soon as you said dollars, I just went blank. But if we go back to where we talk about the need for 73,000 homes across Canada, billions and billions of dollars are needed over the next, even if we say 10 years. And so I should probably almost stop there because I think I would just start to ramble a bit there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure. No, not a problem. I asked that because we know that we talk about we're all in this together, but we know that particularly Indigenous peoples were not part of it before COVID. They were already behind, and we know the impacts of COVID will leave us even further behind. I know that Namarin Housing Corporation is a Reaching Home community entity for Regina, And we've heard that since Reaching Home is mostly a proposal-based, it's challenging for organizations since housing is long-term in nature. Like, it's hard to develop long-term plans when you're doing proposals that last a year or funding that lasts 2 years or 3 years. Can you speak about the ways in which Reaching Home could be improved to support organizations like yours to be more sustainable and adequate?
Well, I know what we've been talking about with some of the sub-projects here is how we can, the way they write their proposals, if we can change that and maybe have them so they're renewed year after year, where they don't have to keep writing a proposal. Because we understand the time and the cost, and being small nonprofits, we don't always have the time or the money. So we've been investing a lot of time as the community entity, working with the organizations, the sub-projects, I guess we could call them for now, in a new way of doing things, in a more efficient way. And honestly, I think that COVID, while I talked earlier to Mr. Long, I said about doing things differently and being prepared. And that, I think COVID for us is really helped us work out efficiencies and ways of doing things different and ways of doing things better. When we took over, being an Indigenous-led organization, when it's Indigenous people leading Indigenous people, that's fine. But when Indigenous people are leading the community, that's a little bit different. And so it took harder work and a little extra work, but I really believe that we've reduced maybe some fears or some resistance that were community-based or community-wide.
Sure. So I'm a longtime community advocate as well, and I understand the dynamics of that. Sorry, I have a bit of a frog in my throat. And I actually was a vice principal in a First Nations community where we had to write proposals for things that schools off reserve just automatically got. I found myself spending hours and hours writing proposals, and it took away from me working with the community. So my question is this: how does proposal-based funding negatively impact the ability of Indigenous organizations to address housing and homelessness in a meaningful way that is both long-term and sustainable?
Well, I think there's that people sometimes get stuck in that one way of doing things. So for us to come and say that we look after both funding streams, and the Indigenous funding stream is larger than the designated community, to meet with the designated community people and say, look, your funding is going to be different than it was last year, but we believe it provides you with opportunity to do things differently. We go to the Indigenous organizations and say, there's more funding for us now. There's more funding to be more creative so that we can have projects or ideas that are more sustainable.
Sure. And so I have one last question.
No, you don't.
Oh, I don't. Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ms.
Hopefully
Kazan.
I have another chance. Thank you.
You will have another chance. Okay. We're going to move to this. That's quite all right. She will get another chance. Mr. Viss, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you to both the witnesses for coming today. On Saturday, I was running around my hometown of Abbotsford, and I was listening to the House on CBC, and they were speaking with Dene First Nation in Northwest Territories, the Yellowknives Dene First Nation Chief Ernest Betsina, I believe, and he spoke a lot about a previous program from the 1980s called the HAP program, whereby the government of Canada would buy building supplies and supply them to individuals in various First Nations in Northern Canada to build their own homes with assistance from experts where needed. The Dene First Nation in the radio program spoke about how that gave a sense of ownership to the First Nations, and it created a home, and it got people out of the other government programs, and there seemed to be a lot of support for this program. Mr. Byers, are you familiar with the HAP program from the 1980s?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. Ms. Bonneau, are you familiar with the HAP program from the 1980s?
I was just born that time.
Okay. Okay. Well, it seemed like it was a wonderful program, because what I was hearing from what they also spoke about in the radio program was about housing as a matter of sovereignty, Indigenous programs by Indigenous programs for Indigenous people by Indigenous people, and it just seemed to go on this model of reconciliation, but also independence from the federal government. So. Given that neither of you have looked at the program, I will save those questions for another witness in the future. But Mr. Byers, what advice would you give the Matsqui First Nation in my constituency who has recently come into possession of prime commercial land within the city of Abbotsford? What steps could they be taking to make the best investments involving both commercial and residential spaces that they will invariably be developing?
Well, seeing that I don't know a lot about Abbotsford and I don't know much about the location, I've always said that I wish we would have invested more money in commercial real estate, such as our mall, such as our pharmacy. Those were great investments for us. To invest in housing without government funding is a tough one because there's no money in affordable or social housing, but there is money in commercial real estate. And we find that I think our mall gives us about $500,000 a year to invest back into affordable housing. So I wish we had a few malls. And for the group in Abbotsford, just looking long-term, an investment in really to be a part of the business, what did we call it, Mr. Long, economic reconciliation, to be a part of that is a big step in developing and moving forward with affordable and social housing. Those are my beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Do you know of many cases across Canada where in some cases First Nations are the housing providers to non-First Nations?
Well, I know we house some non-First Nations, and I'm sure there's many. Okay. I'd be surprised if we were the only one.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm done for today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Viss. Next, Mr. Dong, please, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Chair, and good evening to both presenters. Very nice to have you here. My first question is for both Mr. Byers and Ms. Bonneau. How does the availability of funding affect your organization's program and services for housing Indigenous people?
I can go first. Thank you for your question. Just like I mentioned earlier, we highly depend on government support on our operations. Right now, under Midi Urban Housing Corporation, we are running our operations under the operating agreements, which we have with Alberta Seniors and Housing. And these agreements are going to be mature. They'll be expiring come 2022. And we are living in that uncertainty right now that how we're going to operate. Because the need of subsidized housing and affordable housing is not going to deplete anytime soon or ever. So to support those families with the rent we offer, it will not happen if we do not have any operational support from government. It is just not the families; it is people who run these programs or organizations. So we need capacity. That is where we need to invest, building capacity. So that is huge in this time of So investing in technology, investing in human resources, those kind of things, which are directly linked with the delivery of the program, we are highly impacted by those. So I would say the life of the nonprofit organizations is very short if we do not have support from government.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to Mr. Byers, same question. How does the availability of funding affect your organization's program and services for housing Indigenous people?
I would say without the investment of by the government,
look on their website.
By the federal government, it certainly slows us down. I was just thinking of all of the investments that we've made, and that we currently own about a half a city block in downtown Regina that sits vacant because with a temporary parking lot, because we had planned on doing a development there. But as we've worked with CMHC on this, we've determined that it's too big of a my eyes were too big, I guess. It's not
Right.
something that we can maybe handle. But honestly, an investment by the federal government is needed when it comes to affordable housing. Our investments are in investments that make us money so that we can provide or develop affordable housing
Right.
in partnership with the federal government.
Okay. I want to go back to Ms. Bono's response. Your point about adequate funding, and I've just, in your view, how does that affect your ability to provide culturally sensitive or culturally appropriate programming?
Right now, the house we own, they were given to us by CMHC. So those homes are very old, like I said, maybe about 50 to 70 years old. They're not like if you are going to convert those homes to meet with culturally requirements of Indigenous people, you have to tear them down. And each home they are full of asbestos, require a lot of remediation, huge dollars we are talking about. So that's where our limitation is, and maintaining those homes to having adequate replacement reserve on hand is really important for us.
Okay. Thank you. And Chair, how much time do you have left?
About 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. I want to quickly go back to Mr. Byer. Same question that Mr. Wing asked Ms. Bono. Can you describe the needs of currently existing in Saskatchewan for urban Indigenous housing? Just shortly.
Specifically to Regina and our organization, we have about 350 families on our waiting list.
Thank you, Mr. Byers. Suite, Madame Chabot.
Ms. Chabot now for 2.5 minutes. Thank you. Ms. Bono, I would like to know something because you provide services in 14 urban centers in Alberta. That's a lot. Congratulations. I'm sure you face many challenges. So, are the needs and the realities different from one center to the other? Are there similar challenges that you face from one urban center to another, or are there differences that you have to take into account?
Thank you for your question. Yes, overall need of Indigenous people is similar, but we do see difference from location to location, depending upon what services they have in that location. For example, we have no housing in Conclain. And I keep using this as example because I was there a few months ago, and it just was very saddening situation just to witness how people are living there. So if I talk about that community has no grocery store. That community has no water, no power, no roads. And what that community has is a huge rec center and a huge school. So those kind of things, like people face difficulties when they don't have services in place, when they don't have medical facilities, when they don't have one-on-one professional consultation. That's where we face challenges, and we do not see those challenges in maybe say Calgary and Edmonton, but we do face in remote areas those challenges definitely. Thank you.
That's a great challenge. Now, the federal government can support the province. I understood that there are bilateral agreements that are there to support you. So how can we better take into account these big differences that exist that will make a big difference for people who are living in these areas? Because you have a mandate that's been given to you by the province, and I believe that the province is supported by the National Housing Strategy. That's what I imagine. So are things going well? Is it fluid? This partnership between the province and the federal government, or are there jurisdictional disputes?
A brief response,
we are
please.
very grateful for whatever support we are getting from federal government, and like I said, we are doing our best to create more housing inventory. But again, to maintain and continuously provide that housing, we need continuous support, and that is where gap lies. And if we do not have that support, this gap will not shorten.
Thank you, Ms. Bono. Next, Ms. Gazan, please, for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you so
Merci à
much,
vous.
Chair. My question is for Madame Bindu. We know that poverty is one of the most violent human rights violations. We know through things like the Indian Act, certainly legislated poverty for Indigenous people. We don't need saving. We just need to be provided with the same sort of services so we can be afforded the same human rights as other Canadians. You spoke about housing, lack of support. The Métis Nation of Alberta signed onto a 10-year, $5 million Métis Nation housing accord, which, when you break it down, would equate to approximately $100 per Métis person over a 10-year period. Given the shortage of affordable, accessible social housing, do you think this funding is sufficient to meet the needs of Métis citizens across the Métis homeland?
I don't know if this is sufficient or not, but this is a huge support, definitely. And where we see challenge, because we do not, so here we rely on who is on Métis Nation Alberta's registry. Not everybody is self-identifying themselves as Métis. Not everybody is registered with Métis Nation of Alberta. And that's where we see challenges, because we are not able to provide support to those people. And again, we are talking about rural and remote areas where we cannot access those services, and people are facing more challenges.
So would you say then 10 years, over 10 years, $5 million equating to approximately 100 research numbers, $100 per Métis person over 10 years. So divide that, so that's $10 a year per Métis person. Do you think that's adequate?
That will be adequate if, like, I don't know if this is adequate or not. I can't comment on that, but the thing is, we are able to provide various number of supports to Métis citizens who are registered with Métis Nation of Alberta with that support. And we are conducting a need assessment also Alberta-wide, province-wide, which will also surface other issues and challenges or barriers which these people are facing.
Just because I have about 15 seconds left, do you think $10 a year over a 10-year period meets the needs of Métis citizens, considering the crisis of affordable, accessible social housing for them in the Métis Nation?
Brief response, please.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Falk, please, for 5 minutes.
have to unmute myself. Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank both of our witnesses for being here. I do know just from my very short time here in Ottawa, something that I don't know if Ottawa as a whole recognizes is just the difference in challenges that rural and remote areas in Canada have versus urban. It really is black and white. You can't put something that works in an urban setting into a rural and remote setting. It just doesn't work. I just want to comment on a follow-up question that MP Long had for Mr. Byers. Mr. Byers, you had mentioned an Indigenous CMHC type of model. I'm just wondering if you would say that there isn't an adequate Indigenous lens put on federal programs at the moment. Is that why you may feel that an Indigenous CMHC would be beneficial?
Well, yeah, I think if we had an Indigenous CMHC with more, and like we say in our paper, for Indigenous, by Indigenous, and led by Indigenous people, because then we don't have to teach and explain, and because we're different. Our needs are different, and we really need to partner with you folks. And I guess, I'm going to put it back to like the community entities that we have. And we don't have to work with the province on it. Our various provincial governments, if they don't like the government of the day in Ottawa, well, we just fight. There's been very little change in Saskatchewan. Very little. In the past, I don't even know how many years. I know we don't, they deny that there's a need for affordable housing. They don't want to invest in homelessness.
On a provincial level?
Yes. They did talk about $20,000. They would give $20,000 towards homelessness. I think I don't even have words for it.
For sure. Another question I do have for you is, I know you're in Regina. I'm located Battleford's Lloydminster, so we're in the same province. I'm just wondering how many people, or if you have this information or know, how many people do you serve who are from rural and remote, so maybe northern Saskatchewan or maybe even out of province people? Because I do understand you're in Regina, but I do understand, even being in Lloydminster or having North Battleford or Battlefords in my riding, the amount of people that do come from rural or remote areas that do come into the urban center. So I'm just wondering if you know, or if you have that information.
We don't, but it would be a small amount that don't come from rural.
Right.
Okay. I mean, there's not too many second or third generation Indigenous people living here yet. Okay. They're slowly making their way.
And I do know you were in our committee last time when we were discussing COVID. So I am a little bit interested, since the last time you were here at our committee, have the needs changed? Have you noticed that there's more needs? I mean, other than the weather, like I understand that it's colder out and windy out. But other than that, what about mental health? Because I'm a big believer in wraparound services. I do have a background in social work. I understand that they go hand in hand. We can't just give one service, for example, like housing, and not bring the other parts. Like, it's one thing to be housed, it's another thing to have your spiritual health, your emotional health, your physical health. So I'm just wondering if you've noticed if things have gotten worse, if supports are adequate, especially in the pandemic scenario.
I would say they haven't gotten a whole lot better. Our second call for proposals, people applied very quickly. The one thing that I do know that really disappointed me was there hasn't been an investment in our shelters to get away from a dormitory type shelter.
Right.
Okay. And I think that is so important for the well-being of anybody. You need your space, and especially during COVID.
Yeah, let alone privacy, right? And dignity. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm sure that's my time.
Thank you, Ms. Falk. Mr. Byers, the last person to pose questions to this panel is Mr. Vaughan for 5 minutes, please.
Thanks very much. To Mr. Byers, can you break down, when you say 73,000 units of housing, we're looking at 3 different categories here, urban, rural, and northern. Can you break down where you think that should fall between those different categories? Does your report speak to that?
Yes, I believe it does, Adam.
Okay. And what do you have offhand what the breakdown is?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll review it. I seem to recall seeing it as well. When we talk about CMHC programs, one of the challenges is that Indigenous housing, especially in urban areas, especially when you're dealing with trauma, it often includes things like space for ceremonies, space for communal kitchen, space for healing and traditional medicine, sometimes even sweat lodges on site. Would you recommend that an EARN strategy move away from 75% residential and provide a mix that is Indigenous design, but less focused on just residential and more focused on the full suite of services?
You know, I guess for me, because of the need, the urgent need for housing and to increase those numbers, even though the cultural part is very important, housing is more important. I would sooner invest in housing. And like, I know how we do things, Adam, and we're very, we do all our stuff, our spiritual stuff, our cultural stuff in a space that's away from and behind the closed doors. Then we work on the project and including the various people.
But in terms of making those spaces eligible as part of a project, you wouldn't be opposed to that?
No.
Okay. And in terms of the process, you talked about the need for a compressed approval process, but also a culturally aware approval process, which is why it needs to be Indigenous-led and designed, not just managed. Yes. In terms of that compressed process, would you recommend block funding for multi-years so that organizations like yours have runway to, in fact, evolve projects rather than having to land all the money all at once?
Yes. You know, that's what I was talking about, even like as a community entity, to have ongoing funding so they can start their project and develop it over the course of the next 4 years.
And so if you have a large site, you can do it in phases and know that the phases are all funded and they work together.
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of reaching home, I thank you for your contribution on the advisory committee as we put together the national housing strategy. I'm just checking to make sure you saw in yesterday's statement that the base funding of $160 million a year for reaching home next year has been added to by an additional $300 million, $299.3 million. I hope you know it's there, and I want to. And I'm curious as the national housing strategy builds with the Indigenous communities an EARN strategy, whether or not you think the reaching home dollars should also flow into that to make it a fully integrated housing system.
Well, I think it would be nice. Actually, the way I would like it is if funding for Indigenous organizations was treated the same way the funding is for the community entity, taking it up, because what happens is it comes from the federal government to the provincial government, and they decide what to do. And it's been very little in Saskatchewan.
So direct funding with the federal government is better than going through the provinces?
I believe so. Like when I look at the 63 designated communities that get this funding, it seems to go pretty smooth, at least from our viewpoint. I don't know what it's like from Service Canada, but
no, we're good. I don't hear complaints.
Yeah, but for us, you know, it's like a dream. But as soon as we involve the province, then it takes another path.
I hear you.
And it's not always easy.
And Madame Bonneau, just a quick question. So the distinctions-based funding to the Métis Nation, the $500 million that was pledged last year 2 years ago in the budget, is that where you draw the allotment you get for the housing you provide?
No, we receive funding from Alberta Seniors and Housing.
So you receive money through the federal provincial transfer?
That's correct. So we have 2 organizations under Métis Urban Housing. We receive funding from Alberta Seniors and Housing under operating agreements. And the money which we receive from Métis Nation of Alberta, that is distributed to Métis Capital Housing Corporation. And we have some programs there which we provide services to our citizens.
Would you feel more secure with a distinct funding stream from the federal government that included repair dollars, construction dollars, and subsidy and operating agreements as a single funding source, as opposed to having to rely on multiple programs out of the province?
That's correct.
Okay. And in terms
that will give us more control over how we spend and disperse money.
And just to be clear, it's your operating agreement is held by the province. So if you're at risk of losing it, it's a provincial government decision that could cost you that program.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughan, and thank you, Ms. So we've reached the end of the hour for this panel. Mr. Byers and Ms. Bonneau, thank you so much for the work that you do in your respective provinces. Thank you for your testimony here with us. It will be of significant value to our work and to our study. We as a government and as parliamentarians look forward to working with you and seeing you again. So you're free to disconnect. We stand suspended, colleagues, for a couple of minutes while we do a sound check on the next couple of witnesses, and then we'll be back. So we are suspended. I'd like to welcome our witnesses, Dr. Julia Christensen, Associate Professor and Canada Research Chair in Northern Governance and Public Policy from Memorial University in the fine province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and Damon Johnston, President of the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg. Dr. Christensen, you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, just on a quick point of order. I recognize that Larry Witcher, who's one of the leaders in Indigenous housing in Winnipeg, passed away recently, and I just want to pay my respects on behalf of the committee and my colleagues to Mr. Johnson and to all the Winnipeg Indigenous housing providers who have had to struggle with COVID, but also the loss of such a strong voice. And I just want to make sure that you know we understand the challenges you face and the pain that you've suffered recently, and just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughan. Dr. Christensen, you have 5 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good evening, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the Standing Committee for the opportunity to speak on such an important issue as urban, rural, and Northern Indigenous housing. My name is Julia Christensen, and I hold a Canada Research Chair in Northern Governance and Public Policy at Memorial University. I'm joining you remotely from beautiful St. John's, which is situated on the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, and is also a city, a place of significance for Inuit, Innu, and Mi'kmaq from across the province. I was also born and raised myself on Chief Dragi's territory in Yellowknife Northwest Territories. Over the past 14 years, I've researched, collaborated, and written extensively on Northern housing, homelessness, rural-urban mobility, and the social determinants of health. I'm also the project director for At Home in the North, a CMHC and SSHRC-funded partnership under Canada's Collaborative Housing Research Network. Today, I wish to speak with you about the persistent Northern housing crisis and the ways in which it underlines the emergence of hidden and visible forms of homelessness in Northern Canada. When we talk about the Northern housing crisis, we are in reality talking about chronic housing need that has persisted since the first Northern housing programs were rolled out in the mid-20th century. Northern housing has therefore, from the beginning, been defined by inadequacy and unaffordability. It's this landscape of housing need that underlies the persistence of overcrowding, couch surfing, and hidden homelessness, particularly in northern hamlets and villages, and has thus pushed a significant number of family homes into acting as de facto shelters. However, I also want to bring attention to the ways in which the Northern housing crisis manifests itself in Northern towns and cities. All too often, the particular housing challenges faced by Northern towns and cities are overlooked because their population size and density do not look conventionally urban. However, they serve many of the same roles as cities in Southern Canada, acting as administrative, economic, transportation, and social and health service hubs for vast northern regions. Since the late 1990s, visible homelessness has emerged as a significant social concern in territorial capitals as well as regional centers across the provincial north. In my own research, intergenerational trauma related to residential school and the child welfare system is cited as a key social determinant of health that has had adverse effects on access and sustainability of Northern housing options. Moreover, point-in-time counts and other studies at the community and regional scales have illustrated that the majority of men and women experiencing homelessness in Northern urban centers have moved there from outlying smaller Northern communities. Core housing need in smaller Northern communities, combined with a need for resources and supports available in Northern urban centers, are key factors that frame the rural-urban movement of Northerners experiencing homelessness. Therefore, any comprehensive approach to understanding Northern Indigenous housing needs must take into account the dynamics of housing insecurity in smaller communities as well as regional centers, and the complex interconnections between the two that include not just access to housing, but also access to key social supports and health services. In Northern towns and cities, the public sector is also often the main, if not only, provider of affordable housing, yet the demand far exceeds the supply. Moreover, the bulk of public housing units are intended for families, and therefore units for single adults are incredibly limited. The private rental market thus becomes the main source of housing for low-income single adults. However, a confluence of factors, including rents among the highest in Canada and the dominance of a very small number of private rental companies in Northern centers, means that affordable and accessible private rental options are often out of reach. There is tremendous resiliency, innovation, and hope, however. There have been some significant developments in the areas of housing first and transitional housing through collaborations between territorial, municipal, and Indigenous governments in the nonprofit sector. And yet these programs are not designed or funded to be long-term supportive housing options, even though many residents of these programs, as well as the housing program providers, have identified that long-term supportive housing is needed for the vast majority of program users. Another area of significant promise is the number of community-led housing programs that have been developed and implemented under Indigenous community and regional self-governments. Examples of this can be found in Nunatsiavut, as well as through the Cashew-Gatineau Housing Society in Fort Good Hope, Northwest Territories. However, the resources available to communities differ widely, and there are struggles with chronic under-resourcing for effective and sustainable program delivery. Finally, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought chronic northern housing need under a harsh new light and has made it undeniable that housing is healthcare. Funding has quickly been dedicated to temporarily house people living homeless, either in emergency and overflow shelters, supportive housing and managed alcohol programs, or hotel rooms. But many of these measures are temporary. There is an urgent need to support Northern Indigenous peoples and communities in self-determining Northern housing strategies that ensure that we learn from the pandemic, cultivate real and sustainable change, and do not simply return to the status quo. Thank you. Merci, Nakomek. Merci.
Thank you, Dr. Christensen. Mr. Johnson, please, for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chairperson and members of the committee. Thank you, special thank you to Ms. Gazan, our MP here from Winnipeg, and for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. For my part, I'm going to focus my comments, well, primarily, probably in total, on urban Indigenous housing experience. And I've lived off reserve all my life. And I've been involved, now I'm 73 years old, so I've been involved in the community as a leader here I've been in Ontario, in British Columbia, and in Manitoba. And on the housing front, I would never take a position that the need, as expressed by my Dr. Christensen, it's there. It's in the north. It's specific to First Nations reserves. It's specific to Métis. It's specific to Inuit, and it's also very important to the historic urban community, which really developed as Indigenous charitable not-for-profit organizations in every city in Canada, and in some towns as well. And that's been here in Winnipeg over 60 years in the making. And one of our largest housing groups here is called Kinyu Housing, and it's a true urban Indigenous housing not-for-profit. But I also had a hand in Ayawan Housing, which no longer exists, but before it left the scene, it had developed over 300 units under the old Urban Native Housing Program of the CMHC. And I will say that because of that history I have, we've never, ever since CMHC got out of that program, it's never been the same for Indigenous housing off reserve. And it's a shame because the population here in Winnipeg is projected to grow to 114,000 next year in the next year's census. It's the youngest, fastest growing population. It's a population with some of the highest need for housing anywhere. We need innovative approaches to housing for Indigenous peoples that can come from us. I can example that on a project we're just starting here now for homeless persons in Winnipeg. We call it The Village, and we're going to place 24 units on our property. I'm the co-chair of the Thunderbird House and also the interim executive director. 24 units on our property, specifically designed to house individuals struggling with homelessness. And we know many of them have mental health, addictions issues. And this is housing that will be made out of containers. Will cost about $60,000 per unit. So it's very cost-effective approach. The units will be virtually indestructible. And then we're building all kinds of community supports around these individuals. And we're dealing with issues of safety. We're going to have interventions for those addictions, alcohol, drugs, all of those things. We're working with the Winnipeg Police Service on the safety side with Mama Bear Clan, so This is a very holistically thought out project that evidences the capacity, the real capacity of urban Indigenous citizens to come together, primarily via their urban Indigenous charitable not-for-profits. And in that vein, we've brought almost 25 of these organizations in a new urban collaborative called the Winnipeg Indigenous Executive Circle. And now we're part of 32 urban coalitions in Canada. And we've been in Toronto last year together as urban groups, and we had the United Nations Special Rapporteur on housing, and we were meeting to encourage the federal government, strongly encourage the federal government to work with us to develop a separate urban Indigenous housing strategy. It doesn't have to be either or. The current distinctions nation to nation based process with the federal government between AFN, MNC, and IDK does not enable the participation of urban voice. But urban voice is legitimate. Urban experience in Winnipeg, like I said, over 60 years of experience developing a myriad of programs and services for Indigenous individuals who have moved to cities, who continue to move to cities, and who, when they get here, often fall through the cracks and end up homelessness because they're coming without educational credentials. They can't get jobs. They're not accustomed to living in a city, and they quickly fall prey to many different types of predation, gangs, all of those things. And I came to Winnipeg back to Winnipeg in 1983, and I've been here since then, except for a 2-year hiatus in Vancouver from 05 to 07. And Winnipeg today is almost unrecognizable in terms of the growth in individuals who are struggling on the streets every day in the life of this city. And I can tell you categorically that much of the newer, more innovative approaches to working with these individuals, the most marginalized, the most vulnerable, is now being led by Indigenous leaders in this city. And that's, we turned End Homelessness Winnipeg into a Indigenous organization. And we have the new 5-year plan. And, but we're working with all of the non-Indigenous organizations as well. And once COVID, I guess I got to stop. But thank you very much for hearing me.
You're well past time, but you'll get lots of chance to expand upon your message through the questions. I am sure of that. And we're going to start with those questions now, beginning with Mr. Kent, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome, Dr. Christensen and Mr. Johnston. I'll start with you, Mr. Johnson. I'm looking at the End Homelessness Winnipeg website, and your goals are quite clear. They speak to maintaining, improving existing accommodations and acquiring private market rental rooming houses, single-room occupancy hotels, and then you spoke of the Thunderbird project and this very innovative program for these very inexpensive individual units, which I would guess that you're depending mightily on the City of Winnipeg bylaws to accommodate and to recognize as appropriate. But my first question really is if the Indigenous Housing Caucus appeal for 73,000 units, $25 billion over 10 years is to be realized, what would you be looking for in the urban Winnipeg context in terms of the number of units that you actually need? And need as soon as possible.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, being the city with the highest per capita population of Indigenous persons in the country, often Winnipeg is referred to as the largest urban reserve in Canada by many of our persons living here, Indigenous persons. We would expect that, from a common sense perspective, that there would be some level of correlation between supply and demand. In other words, the need identified here in numbers, you know, the waiting list for safe, affordable, supportive housing in Winnipeg, and the size of the population. To me, that makes sense. So that's the first statement I'll make in that regard.
But what sort of numbers are we talking about today in terms of waiting list, in terms of appropriate non-crowded accommodation of those who need housing?
Yeah, well, I think the last number I seen for Manitoba Housing, of people on the waiting list, I think was around 5,500. And then a good percentage of those would be Indigenous because we have, you know, some of the highest need. We're working with the governments here now, municipal, provincial, to get better numbers. We need better data in terms of the Indigenous situation here in Winnipeg. And through the WIAC collective I talked about earlier, we have a plan in creating a community plan going forward. We want to work with the governments and other institutions to create the necessary database that will enable us to do some really comprehensive planning for that 114,000 person population I talked about earlier.
Now, in the Rapid Housing Initiative, the $500 million that provides for applications from, among others, nonprofit organizations, but Indigenous governing bodies, are you aware of this program? Are applications in the works to see whether part of that, an appropriate amount of that $500 million might be targeted on Winnipeg's Indigenous housing needs?
I can update you. So the City of Winnipeg was granted $12.5 million by the Rapid Housing Initiative. They just announced very recently that they've approved 5 projects for that total amount of money. And unfortunately, our village project didn't get consideration because at that time we didn't have the land to build this village on. That changed just in the last couple of weeks. So now we're going to appeal directly to working with the city, appeal back to the larger federal pot to see if there's any monies we can access that way for this project.
So for among your solutions, are you looking for new neighborhood space so that you could build rather than 10 or 15 or 20, 24 units in the case of the Thunderbird project, perhaps several times that number over a larger urban space acquired from the city?
That's exactly right. We see this as a demonstration project because we have 3,000 hardcore homeless persons in Winnipeg, and 70% of those are Indigenous. And as I said earlier, many of those individuals come to us with multiple challenges in terms of their health, addictions, as I said earlier. This demonstration project will be able to go ahead now if we get the Rapid Housing support because Thunderbird is allowing the project to be put up on a section of our property at the corner of Main and Higgins in Winnipeg. So, and we have been told by a person that used to run Center Venture, a city initiative organization, that there are minimum zoning issues with this particular site. So we should be able to, if we can find the resources, we should be able to, we plan to get this up and running by prior to March 31st, 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Kent. Next, Ms. Young, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to both of our witnesses today. Dr. Christensen, if I could talk to you, I was very interested in one of your reports that I briefly read called Indigenous Homelessness, Perspective from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And I often think whenever we do have a problem, we should look to other centers to see how they compare. And I wondered if you could reflect on that and give us some insight into what you found.
Well, from the Australian context, the idea of spiritual homelessness, or also known as Koori homesickness, was very, very profound for both Dr. Peters and I, who she was the co-editor with myself on that volume, and was a concept that we talked a lot about as chapter contributors in that book, because of course it articulates the experiences of homelessness as needing to be situated within a colonial context, in the sense that dispossession and displacement and the role of intergenerational trauma, for example, really frame the social determinants of health that ultimately impact access to housing and sustainability of housing, but also underline the need for Indigenous-led housing strategies, community-led housing strategies, in order to address the very context and culturally specific needs and wants that exist across Indigenous communities. And as Mr. Johnston highlighted as well, within when we're talking about Indigenous housing, we're talking about diverse cultures, diverse communities, not just in terms of rural versus urban, but also from Inuit to First Nations to Métis, and within each of those groups, very different needs and priorities in terms of housing. So that was something that we really had a lot to discuss across the Canadian and Australian context in particular. There's also a lot of innovative Indigenous-led housing research that takes place in Australia and New Zealand, and I would say that that's also something that we see in Canada. But there's a need for more housing researchers that are Indigenous and who can have the kinds of conversations around Indigenous housing priorities that are inaccessible for a settler scholar like myself, and that also allow for new forms of collaboration between university-based research and Indigenous communities.
And as Mr. Johnson had pointed out, better data is needed.
Exactly, because the way that housing needs are assessed currently is based on models that are typically not designed by Indigenous communities. When you look across the territorial north, for example, they come from the level of territorial government and are defined by territorial government. And it becomes very difficult at the community level to articulate exactly what the needs are and where housing needs need to be prioritized.
I also was very interested in something that you termed home journeying. Can you explain that concept and how that works into our discussion tonight?
Well, I have found, and this began during my PhD research, where I was looking at geographies of homelessness in the Northwest Territories in particular, that oftentimes people who I was interviewing and collaborating with lived experience of homelessness had themselves, their journeys through homelessness had actually been framed by efforts to attain or maintain a sense of home, whether it was moving from a smaller community to an urban center in order to follow children who had been apprehended by the state, for example, and placed in foster care, or whether it was to be with chosen kin. So to be together with friends who were also living in shelter environments, and the significance of those connections with friends and family being very profound, and something that I felt was an opportunity to look at journeys through homelessness as also journeys towards home, and how can those those efforts to find and build and sustain home actually be incorporated in the kinds of programs and services that we offer. So providing long-term supportive housing, ideally for parents, for example, whose children are in care, and providing spaces for them to be able to visit with their children. Currently, the way that the housing system is set up is that when your children are apprehended, you are evicted from your housing, and without housing, you can't regain custody of your children. So it's this horrible catch-22 and cycle that parents find themselves in, and effectively get cut off from access to maintaining long-term meaningful connections with their children.
So it really speaks to the notion of home is where the heart is.
Exactly, and I think too that it becomes a way for people that are experiencing homelessness as well to understand, to feel empowered too, and to see their efforts to maintain connections to family and to friends as being something that should be supported through additional programming and wraparound services.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young and Dr. Christensen.
Now, Ms. Chabot, you have 6 minutes. Thank you very much to both of you. Thank you for your testimonies. Ms. Christensen, in a recent article, you talked about the federal funding to respond to the housing crisis in the North was diminishing. And it's been the case for 20 years. And this funding will be $0 in 2037. This is quite troubling. But perhaps it's not very surprising. So we're talking about Northern Territories, but could you tell us more about that? And could you tell us about the impacts of this decreasing in funding in the long term?
Yes, thank you for that question. The annual funding for social housing from the federal government has been declining since the early 1990s, as you mentioned, and this has been replaced by large parcels or packages of funding that are announced, on a piecemeal basis. This has been incredibly challenging for northern communities because it means that it becomes very difficult to engage in any long-term planning. There's no sort of certainty from year to year that there will be funding that can be dependent on, and it makes it very difficult to see programs evolve, to be flexible and responsive to evolving needs. It also means that what happens is that large packages of funding are announced and they seem quite significant, millions and billions of dollars. But in actuality, when you look at it, for example, with the National Housing Strategy, and I believe it's $240 million that was dedicated to Nunavut to address chronic housing need, that actually translates into, I think, 48 new units per year under the National Housing Strategy. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket when you look at the number of housing units that are actually required in Nunavut. So it becomes difficult to really address the full scope of the issue. It becomes difficult to engage in long-term planning. It means that when funding also is directed through territorial governments and not direct to communities, communities have to basically respond, sort of bend and reshape their housing needs under the priorities set at the territorial government level. It just becomes very difficult to engage in long-term planning ultimately, which, I keep coming back to that as being a tremendous challenge in addressing and really sort of making a dent out of the northern housing crisis.
I understand in your answer that the solution would be, and you can correct me, would be that the funding be previsible and durable, sustainable. It shouldn't be a grant based on different projects, because if it's the case, you don't know if tomorrow you will still have access to funding. So thank you very much for your answer. Another interesting point now. And congratulations for all of your research and all your studies. It's very informative. Mr. Johnston earlier talked about the following earlier also. So he talked about a cultural approach that is needed in the North. There is a lack of resources, for example, for problems that touch different nations. So how can we act for different nations? Because there are different programs. Should we have different programs to meet the needs of the different nations?
Was I asked a question? I didn't get the translation.
Je vous ai posé la question.
Miss Christensen.
Mr. Johnston peut répondre.
But Mr. Johnston can also answer.
Should I go first? Okay. so At Home in the North, the partnership that I direct includes 40 community partners, largely Indigenous governments across the territorial North, Indigenous organizations and NGOs. And what I am hearing loud and clear from Indigenous partners is the desire to see funding directed, direct funding to Indigenous communities, to the community level. And so I think that is one of the biggest obstacles to really addressing these very sort of culturally and contextually specific housing needs, and to be able to develop and implement programs that can prioritize specific groups within a community. For example, in Fort Good Hope, the Kashogatane Housing Society has implemented a transitional housing program for men, single men in their community, because they identified that as being a priority area. And that was something that came through their own efforts to take back decision-making around housing program development within their community and as a part of their self-government process. That would be greatly supported if federal funding was directed to community level and didn't go through the territorial government beforehand. So I see that as being a significant obstacle to being able to really implement these kind of community-specific, culturally specific housing programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christensen. Merci, Madame Chabot.
Thank you, Ms. Chabot.
Kazan, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and just would like to thank the witnesses for being here today and my friend Damon. It's been a minute with COVID, but we work in the same community, so it's so nice to see you today, Damon. My first question is for you, actually. The Native Women's Association of Canada indicates that Indigenous women living off reserve experience gendered and racialized discrimination by potential property owners. We know certainly in the city of Winnipeg that violence against Indigenous women and girls has been a real crisis. And part of that, the violation of our safety affects ability to find adequate housing. So Call to Justice 4.7 of the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls calls for the government to support the establishment and long-term sustainable funding of Indigenous-led low-barrier shelter safe spaces, transition homes, second-stage housing services for Indigenous women, girls, 2S LGBTQIA people. I was really happy to work with my colleague Adam Vaughan to secure funding for, after many years, for a 24/7 safe space for women, girls, 2S LGBTQIA people. I was wondering if you can speak to the critical importance of low barrier 24/7 safe spaces and housing as a life-saving measure, particularly for Indigenous women, girls, 2S LGBTQIA people. We know certainly the Thunderbird House in my riding, I live right by Main Street. We see the declining mental health and the lack of spaces for people that may not be ready to, for example, give up addictions. Can you speak to the importance of that as a life-saving measure in our community?
Absolutely. No doubt of the need for what you say, and it's absolutely essential that the solutions come from the women themselves, that the housing that is eventually developed meet their specific needs, and even within groups are differences, and those have to be addressed in any effective housing projects of that nature. The necessary supports to enable the interventions, successful interventions with any of the issues that the women may be facing. The connections need to be there to the agencies, and in particular, as I said before, in Winnipeg, 25 different or more different urban Indigenous organizations. Plus that's now, there's a growing First Nation specific Eagle Urban Transition Center, for example. There's no shortage of knowledgeable, experienced, innovative capacity within the urban community to work with women's groups to achieve these housing goals.
Yes, I appreciate that, Damon, because I know that the families of murdered and missing Indigenous women have been fighting very hard in our community to secure more low barrier safe spaces, and I appreciate your involvement in housing over the years, trying to improve certainly the situation in our community. So thank you for that. My next question actually is for Madame Christensen. In regards to intersectionalities, we know that in November was Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, and Indigenous people in Canada have a disability rate significantly higher than the general population, and often deal with intersectional discrimination, having both a disability and being Indigenous. According to Stats Canada in 2017, 32% of First Nations living off reserve, 30% of Métis, and 19% of Inuit had one or more disabilities that limit them in their daily activities. How should this disproportionate number of Indigenous persons with disabilities be considered when Indigenous housing strategies are created and funding? I say that because often the housing that is created may not necessarily be accessible or provide the support, certainly under the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 19, to live in dignity. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that specifically.
Well, I think that one of the challenges is that, of course, there are a complex array of needs, and there's no sort of one size fits all solution that can address all of those complex needs. And so in terms of an Indigenous housing strategy that that gave significance to the experiences of Indigenous peoples with disabilities, I think that there are some great examples of collaborations between Indigenous organizations and others in the nonprofit sector who work specifically with residents with disabilities to look at housing models that can meet the specific needs of people with disabilities. But I think there could be a place there for increased collaboration between the nonprofit sector, who's already very engaged in this area, to help to inform and develop collaborative strategies in the development of an Indigenous housing strategy.
Okay,
thank you, Ms. Gazan. Thank you, Dr. Christensen. Next, we're going to go to Mr. Schmale, I believe, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, witnesses, for your testimony. Amazing stuff, so much that we've been hearing. And a lot of the similar topics we've been hearing is the ability to really harness the decision-making in the local community. And you touched on a bunch of barriers that you've been facing, and I appreciate hearing about them. And we have heard similar stories from other witnesses that have appeared before our committee. And so there seems to be an unfortunate common theme here. I want to quickly just talk about kind of back on the path of economic reconciliation as well, because I think it's a pretty important part of that. And there's 3 areas I want to talk about that have been bantered about as potential solutions, and some of which has been already discussed in questioning here in the last 30 minutes or so, and some of which you brought up in your testimony. So I'd like some feedback if I could, and I can take one at a time, or if one person wants to comment, that's fine too. The first is providing Indigenous communities with more authority to enhance their fiscal powers related to whether it be taxation, it could be excise tax, resources, the sale of goods, it doesn't matter, in order to build their economic capacity within their community. The second would be something along the lines of working with Indigenous-led financial institutions like the First Nations Financial Management Board, the First Nations Tax Corporation, First Nations Finance Authority, to reduce some of the hurdles in the Indian Act that discourage private sector investment in Indigenous communities, and including many of your priorities, and lowering the costs of long-term capital through policies that enhance credit ratings and provide greater security to lenders. And probably third is the creation of a First Nations Infrastructure Institute to help interested First Nations build more fiscally, economically, and environmentally sound infrastructure, all by better coordinating, the fiscal and financing options, providing innovations for all parts of infrastructure. Basically, removing the part where even Ms. Gazan mentioned it, where in her capacity as a vice principal had to write for application after application where schools off reserve would automatically get that. So maybe just kind of creating the own First Nations Infrastructure Institute where those projects could come kind of as a grassroots level. I don't know who wants to comment first or if anyone wants to comment, but I'm interested in feedback if I could.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. So you're referencing First Nations in particular, and they're only one of the sort of 4 places of interest that make up the Indigenous community in Winnipeg and Manitoba. So yes, First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and Urban. Now, the First Nations, they are creating what we call urban reserves in Winnipeg. We have 2 of them now, and then there's another one, bigger one, project about 110 acres in size. Now, basically, First Nations can build anything on these sites, but they're still part of the reserve, so they're still governed by, to some large degree, by the Indian Act and its regulations, which, as you pointed out, represent barriers to investment, sometimes from private sector sources. Now, going forward, I mean, we would hope that the federal government negotiating with First Nations, that, the most important thing we could do there would be to sort of move the Indian Act out of play and create a new legislative relationship between First Nations. And then we could also correct the historic imbalance, lack of relationship with the Métis people, who, if not for the Indian Act, would be members of our communities today. And again, that's evidenced because we have Métis individuals who are now acting in Manitoba to reestablish an old reserve around Duck Bay. So, many of the barriers to financing from any source other than governments are, in the Indian Act itself. And it has to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's well beyond its shelf life. And, I will finalize by saying that it would benefit all of us for that to happen. All of the 4 groups I told you about earlier, because we are already working together. We're making agreements or deals with each other to support different types of initiatives we want to undertake in Winnipeg. And that could be even easier if the Indian Act was not in the picture.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schmale. Mr. Turnbull, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to both the witnesses for being here. I'm learning a lot from you, and I really appreciate you coming to the committee and giving us so much insight on such an important study. Mr. Johnston, maybe I could ask you a couple of questions. Actually, both of the witnesses today, both of you spoke to innovative strategies, spoke to collaboration.
Monsieur le Président.
Oui. Madame Chabot.
Monsieur le Président, l'interprète nous dit que le député n'est pas sur le bon réglage.
Okay. Mr. Turnbull, can you just check and see what channel you're on there?
I'm on the English channel.
Okay.
It's your settings, sir. It's your settings. You're not on the right settings.
Sorry, I'm not on the right settings.
No, if you're on the English channel, you're okay. Est-ce que ça marche maintenant, Madame Chabot? Oh, I should be speaking English. Is it working now?
Oui, ça fonctionne.
Okay, great. We'll restart the clock. Mr. Turnbull, go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Great. So as I was saying that both of you spoke to innovative models, Indigenous-led models, and I'm really interested in how social innovation may be impacting the work within Winnipeg and the Indigenous Executive Circle. So Mr. Johnston, maybe I could start with you. You spoke to some innovative models. I'm just wondering whether you can give us a sense of whether there are any other innovative Indigenous-led models which you're pursuing, other than the ones you've already mentioned, which were really great examples. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes. Well, big part of our work here in Winnipeg, and the great accomplishment now of bringing these organizations together is we're on this path. We're under an umbrella of truth and reconciliation, recovering some of our historic ways of doing things. You know what I mean? Historic governance structures and historic thinking about holistic thinking. And it's changed me. I told you earlier that I had grown up off reserve. And we were the only Indigenous family in this small town outside of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And so I lost my language, any chance to learn my language. I lost any ability to participate in any real way in historic ceremonial practice, other cultural activities. But what I gained was, incredible understanding of non-Indigenous peoples, other Canadians, and then also the understanding of the struggle with racism, with discrimination. It began on the playground, but eventually most of us became friends because we interacted with each other. So one of the most damaging aspects of Canadian history was our segregation on reserves and all that went with that. And anytime you separate peoples from each other, you get these kinds of results. It's evidence-based. There are psychological outcomes, there are health outcomes, all kinds of negative outcomes for the individuals that experience these things. And as I grew to understand this in a much better way through a higher level of interaction with my First Nations relatives on reserve, with being involved in the constitutional talks with the former Prime Minister Trudeau, it was an eye-opening experience, and it truly enabled me to understand, why my relatives who had grown up on reserve were so different than me in some important ways. And then, appreciating that for our education system on reserve, as we all know, was not on par with what was occurring off reserve. Mm-hmm. And, much of that is the experience of the individuals today that we're working so hard to try and include in what we call Canada, to, enable them to get homes, what they call homes, what means home to them. And so that's the last thing I'll say, that unique new village that we're creating is very similar to a historic Indigenous village, but instead of canvas TVs or teepees made out of animal skins, the teepees in this case are made out of steel. You know what I mean? But you still have the elements. You have the central fire, you have the teepee, a real teepee sitting by nearby. So you're building in historic cultural elements that cause the individuals there to recover themselves, to recover their historic way of living. You know what I mean? Helping each other, being able to help each other. And this becomes really important when you're addressing issues like addictions, either alcohol or drugs, and the support that each of these individuals can give to each other. And I've seen this. I visited a managed alcohol program in Thunder Bay, my hometown, which was managed by a First Nations woman, and the outcomes there were quite incredible. So these things, these newer types of programming to address addictions, they're not yet available here in Manitoba, because as you know, some governments struggle to appreciate these newer evidence-based approaches to addressing these kinds of issues. And so, across Canada, we have oftentimes programs in one jurisdiction that you don't have in other jurisdictions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Suite Madame Chabot pour 2 minutes et demie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I either have a question or a comment, but I'd like to speak to Mr. Johnston. What you're saying is important. The solution that you seem to have found off reserve in Manitoba from a cultural standpoint and for communities seems to work, but about living together, about respecting the Métis, Inuit, and First Nations reality. Our study is on housing. It's on Aboriginal housing in urban, rural, and Nordic areas. We're trying to identify challenges and obstacles. We're trying to determine if our programs are well suited. The government has to determine whether these programs are consistent with your reality on the ground. At the beginning of your testimony, you talked about the CMHC and that there had been a mistake committed with the CMHC. The projects that you're suggesting, are they promising? I'm sorry, that was a long-winded question. Over to you.
Yes, you're right. We are seeing real evidence of better outcomes in the approaches that we're now taking here in Winnipeg, and primarily because they're culturally competent. They recognize each individual, whether they're Dene or Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, Innu or Cree, Michif or Métis. You're recognizing each person for their cultural uniqueness, and then you're working with them to create programs, services that work with them. You can bring people, other individuals who are part of their communities into the picture to help develop these newer innovative approaches to trying to ensure that the investment you're making in treatment, in housing, in other supports, that you're going to have a longer lasting outcome. In fact, the person will continue to heal in the rest of their life.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
We're going to finish up with Ms. Gazan, please, for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chair. And my question is for Mr. Johnson. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the comments you made around the dispossession of lands and how it's impacted Indigenous people. I've often I've often said that, first they took away our lands and then they left us homeless on our own very own lands. So I really appreciated your comments. And I've often been pretty critical of this current government, but also consecutive federal governments that have massively and systemically underfunded Indigenous communities, including urban Indigenous populations. And do you believe that this violation of Indigenous right to housing is the reason why our communities, including my riding of Winnipeg Centre, I've had many conversations with my colleague Adam Vaughan about this, where we have one of the highest urban Indigenous populations in the country, are now faced with a dire crisis during COVID?
Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying, and it's really, the question for Canada, do you want to truly include Indigenous people in everything we do in this country? And are you prepared to make the necessary investments? We've had how many years? 150 years or more of a failure to make the necessary investments. And it flies in the face of any common sense. It's human beings, and that's what we are. We were never viewed that way, but we are human beings. It's human beings who create, almost everything in our country. And so giving Indigenous people chance now to demonstrate what they can bring, positive solutions to the table, but not just, we are already working with many other non-Indigenous organizations in this city, with some of our business leaders like Mark Chippen, the owner of the Winnipeg Jets. Relationships are the essence of our society. And if you can't have positive relations between the different groups that make up our society, then what do you get? You get conflict. And nobody has, the answers for everything we do. But collectively, yes, we do. And we know now, just in Winnipeg, from the partnerships that we're developing with non-Indigenous Canadians in many different places, with new Canadians, with refugees, working with the Winnipeg Partnership Agreement. It's paying dividends, and it'll pay even more dividends. And the better outcomes will mean, much less cost to our country as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Ms. Gazan. That's I think a positive, optimistic note to close on. Dr. Christensen and Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for being with us. Your testimony will be extremely valuable.
No more time for a quick other round?
No, we're past time as it is, Mr. Viss. I'm sorry. Mr. Vaughan feels the same way. So thank you very much, witnesses. Thank you very much, colleagues. We will see you again on Thursday. Witnesses, you can tell that you've engendered very much interest. They're pleading for more time, but I have to try to keep us on track here. Anyway, that we've reached the hour. If I would entertain a motion for adjournment, or do I have consensus to adjourn? I believe I see it. Mr. Vaughan, don't do that. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. Stay safe.